You have more assets.
His grand.
No, I'm just
Good
kidding.
evening, everyone. Welcome to another joint meeting of the Bloomington City Council and the School Board. On behalf of my fellow school board members, thank you all for joining us and for your participation. I'd like to also welcome our viewing audience here and at home watching on BEC TV. Tonight is the second joint meeting of the City Council and School Board this year. In December, we met to discuss the changing demographics of our community and the state of Minnesota. Part of tonight's session will be a follow-up to what was shared at the December meeting. Tonight's meeting is especially noteworthy, a rarity for members of the City Council, School Board, and Hennepin County Administration to come together to discuss an issue with implications for each of our respective governing bodies and our community. Bloomington Public Schools is recognized as an educational leader and an innovator in developing pathways to graduation programs that serve children from early childhood to adults. Tonight, we're excited to share more about one of those innovative projects that is both forward-thinking and addresses a challenge facing school districts and communities across the country: workforce development. We look forward to joining forces with the City of Bloomington, Hennepin County, and other community partners to further develop pathways to graduation and access to long-term, sustainable, and living wage jobs with career tracks for our graduates. In a few minutes, we'll hear from tonight's presenters, who include Tom Holton, Executive Director of Community Services for Bloomington and Richfield Schools; Hennepin County Administrator David Huff; Hennepin County Workforce Development Coordinator John Thorson; Bloomington Chief of Police Jeff Potts; Dr. Joyce Esther, President of Normandale Community College; and Nancy Warner, Director of the Walzer Foundation. Following the presentation, we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. Before we begin the presentation and dialogue, I invite Mayor Gene Winstead to offer welcome on behalf of the city.
I can do exactly that. Welcome to everyone on behalf of the city. It's good to see this happening again. It's their second meeting this year between the City Council and the School Board. And I think we're sharing quite a bit of information that just matters to both of the organizations, the schools as well as the city. And I think that will continue with what we're going to be learning tonight. And then from the city's perspective, too, I think we would like to just engage in a little conversation, albeit not on our agenda, about some things that the city is considering, and just open a little bit of dialogue going there. So, but if we can, I think we should just get going, and away we go. It's good.
Thank you, Mayor. At this time, we're going to turn it over to Tom Holton, our Director of Community Services.
Thank you, Chair Bartolotta and Mayor Winstead. It's a pleasure to be here tonight on this somewhat rare occasion, becoming more familiar, having the City Council and the Board work together, and then to add all these distinguished guests to be all in the room together. I think we're going to have a discussion tonight. We're not asking anybody to make any decisions, but to hear some of the facts and figures of a challenge that's before us, start understanding what individual parts are doing and how we're gaining synergy to take on this issue of workforce development. And so I'm going to start the evening by framing a little bit about what the issue is, and then we'll move into various presentations from many of our partners on what we're doing so far and as we're looking at the future to find solutions right here in Bloomington to this problem. I'll start with just a few of the economic projections. And these probably aren't new to most of you, that we're looking at 55 million jobs becoming available over the next 55 years. Of those are going to be 24 million new jobs. So those are jobs that don't exist today. And I can look around the room and I can look in the mirror at myself and say about 31 million of those jobs are going to be vacated by people of my demographic that are going to be leaving the workforce. And that's how you come to the 55 million jobs that have to be filled in the near future. And somewhere 70 to 74%, depending on what economist is predicting, of those jobs will require some sort of post-secondary certification or degree. So just finishing high school is no longer going to be enough to produce the workforce of the future that we're going to need. You combine that with some of our Bloomington demographic data. In 2014, of our graduating seniors, 3 in 10, about 30%, are living in poverty. If you look ahead to our current pre-K and elementary students, we're looking at now in Bloomington about half of those students living in poverty. And we all know that with poverty come additional challenges of education, and as you look forward to post-secondary training and the costs and the barriers to going on to college, we know that there are additional barriers that come with a family or students that are challenged economically. So we need to think about how we deliver education and how we remove those barriers, or we can look forward to not being able to fill those jobs of the future that require that post-secondary education. This isn't a challenge that's just here in Bloomington. It's a national challenge. These job vacancies are going to exist all around the country. Congress just recently passed legislation called the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, or WIOA, for those that like acronyms. And that is legislation that had bipartisan support, passed almost unanimously out of Congress, and it looks at developing an integrated workforce system to say what are all the parts that make up education, jobs training, how when people come to look for jobs, how are they placed in jobs, and putting all of those pieces together, having governments and education working together rather than everyone working separately on this challenging issue. The state has had their own response, and included in that response, the Governor's Workforce Council has the charge or the big challenge of taking that federal WIOA legislation. Of course, at the federal level, most of that work gets pushed down to the state, so the State Workforce Development Council is looking at how they implement that federal legislation, the WIOA, and then in terms of the response for schools, 2 years ago, the state passed the world's best workforce legislation, which creates additional challenges to school districts on what they must do to address this challenge of getting students ready for school. We often have been criticized, and maybe rightly so, that we've looked at education as an end rather than a means to something else. So here in Bloomington, we're reframing how we look at education to say you should be educating yourself to do something. So instead of saying our goal is to get kids to graduate and say, go find out what you want to do, we're trying to back map for students and our whole system to say, these students someday are going to be productive members of our community and of our society, and they will need to have jobs. And so to help them determine what those jobs are going to be and have them create a pathway that will lead them towards those jobs, rather than say, get done with high school and you're on your own. And you'll hear a little bit more about the world's best workforce legislation later on. So to be competitive, national, state, county, and city level, we need to start thinking about developing a workforce for with students and workers that have the skills that match up with the skills that are in the future, rather than just saying, we'll give you an education, and at the end, you start figuring out at that point what sort of a job that you would want. So here in Bloomington, we're going to be talking tonight about a demonstration project, and we look at it as our way of implementing the WIOA legislation, how we bring together all of the parts to say, how do we work on this collectively? as city council, as school members, how we look at all of our government institutions, county, city, workforce center, deed, educational institutions, K-12, post-secondary, both private, public and private, business and industry, and nonprofits, and we have Walser, representing one of the nonprofits is helping us. United Way is working on this issue across the state of Minnesota. And how we can put all these pieces together to gain synergy and take the best of all our parts to be successful in this endeavor. And then we're collaborating with the Governor's Workforce Development Council, who is very interested in our work so that they can take the best practices and things we learn here to replicate around the state of Minnesota. So again, our goal is working together to develop a workforce to match the job market demand of the future. And of course, we could not claim our success without having some sort of an evaluation. So we're using a net impact framework that will look at some standardized ways of looking at these efforts so that we can compare our efforts of those of others across the state of Minnesota. We'll use an array of outcomes. In measuring our results, we'll be able to disaggregate, hopefully, our efforts to determine what inputs are getting the best results and look at impacts over time. We don't have hopes that overnight we're going to solve this problem, but we'll have to continuously look at what we're doing and evaluate what works and what doesn't to see what kind of a return on investment that we get from our public dollars. And I skipped one there. And this net impact framework comes from the Governor's Workforce Council, and they'll be using these sorts of studies across the state. We are working with state economist Art Rolnick, who is helping us identify an economist to develop this research study. And they'll be looking at metrics of employment, what kind of wages people are working, people's dependence on county assistance, food stamps, medical assistance, and those things that people that are underemployed or unemployed tend to rely on. So that the goal is that the path out of poverty is to have students that have jobs that will give a livable wage so they can support themselves here in Bloomington and across Minnesota. And so with that, I will bring up David Huff and John Thorson from the county, and they'll talk to you about some of the efforts that they're doing on their own and in partnership with Bloomington schools.
I'll try to get it right. Chief, I won't mess with your notes. Good evening. Madam Chair, Mr. Mayor, council members, board members, appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Dave Huff. I'm the Hennepin County Administrator. And what we'd like to do tonight is provide a brief overview of a topic that keeps me up at night. And I'll put this into context. It keeps me up at night because Hennepin is one of the top 5 employers in downtown Minneapolis. It has 8,000 employees, about 5,200 full-time equivalent employees. We have a slide here we'll show momentarily that will give you the basis for my lack of sleep. What we'd like to do before we get into the slides and talk about our journey over the last 2.5 years and where we're at now is to show you a short video that the Hennepin County Board of Commissioners recently viewed that was put together about this Hennepin Career Connections that we're going to discuss this evening. And this short video provides hope. It shows the opportunity. And to be real honest, it's an achievement that we're very proud of. So with that, if we could, do I have to start it with this, or?
I believe so.
Okay. As an employer, that's a great concern.
and it's going to open up an unprecedented number of positions.
Hennepin County's always been focused on economic development, the creation of jobs in the region, the community.
Over the next decade, our region's greatest economic challenge will be to ensure that enough job candidates are prepared to meet employers' workforce demands.
We have recognized an opportunity, we have recognized a challenge, and we're going after it by being proactive.
More than 250,000 of our residents receive some type of social service support every day from Hennepin County. This is not just a number. It represents real people with hopes and dreams. Hennepin County Career Connections will open the door to a brighter future for these residents. It will provide customized training, work experience, and job opportunities.
If we can move individuals who are clients receiving government supports into jobs where they're earning, paying taxes, we've accomplished a lot, and that is a return on investment.
What is so unusual about this is the structural changes that Hennepin County is proposing to make in the way it hires people. What we were able to do in this 8-credit course is to train directly into the county's needs. That's essential because we were abbreviating the educational course.
We will share the experience and the knowledge gained from Hennepin County Career Connections at the Workforce Leadership Council. The council is a collaboration between Hennepin County, educational institutions, and other employers to create career pathways catered to employers' needs. By working together, we can build tomorrow's labor force and ensure our region's economic vitality.
We're all in this together. Our regional economy is pretty integrated, and so let's figure out how to do this in a joint way, share best practices, share techniques, share information, and kind of move forward together.
Hennepin County Career Connections has been tested and has delivered proven success. By partnering in this initiative, you can learn and replicate the program for your own business.
We are doing this not only so we can be competitive and maintain our status as a great employer with a dedicated and committed workforce, but sharing in the benefit.
Hennepin County Career Connections does more than forge a career path. It creates the pipeline of motivated and talented workers to deliver the highest quality services to residents.
We want to make sure that we're creating the great workforce for the 21st century, and we're bringing our own people along so that they can fill those jobs.
By working with community-based organizations, we can reach out to residents who are struggling to make ends meet. This program removes barriers, so more high-potential candidates will be considered for jobs.
We're hoping that ultimately we can help people who are underemployed access the skills, assemble the hard skills and the soft skills that they need to meet today's hiring demands.
It's sort of paying back what I feel like has helped me.
Alex Weber saw her parents struggle when she was little. Her mother eventually went back to school to be a paralegal and worked for Hennepin County.
When you've seen what it's like, you have a completely different level of respect and of genuine compassion for those that you're helping.
It gives me hope that I'm going to be something big one day.
Yushika Bryant is a single mother who wants to give her son a better future.
I'm hoping that the internship, that I do get accepted into the internship and that it does lead to a job, because that can be a new beginning for me and my son.
How much does your household pay for rent?
They are training to become human services representatives.
This is it for me. This is my dream. So really, this program is just hopefully fast-tracking that dream.
At the end of the program, they go through an evaluation and interviews to become permanent Hennepin County employees.
You are our future. You make Hennepin County great. And once again, congrats.
For many, it's a life-changing opportunity. They can finally look to their future without worrying about how to get by every day.
We have a chance here to put people to work who historically have not been able to get good jobs. And that's what we're trying to do, and we think that's going to be a huge step forward for Hennepin County.
The workforce challenges are just around the corner. Hennepin Workforce will be able to turn them into opportunities to help our region thrive.
It's that simple, and our neighborhoods will be stronger, those families will be stronger, and those kids in those families are going to have a better chance of succeeding as well because their parents are succeeding.
We want to spend the remaining time this evening that we have with you to talk about our journey. It's been one of action, it's been one of collaboration, it's been one of innovation. It's been really a comprehensive review and assessment of our human resource, recruitment, posting, hiring, onboarding processes, and there are a lot of very dedicated, committed people in our organization. In fact, 3 of them are here with me this evening. John Thorson, who's our Workforce Development Coordinator, a new position that we created with the board's approval a little over a year ago. Kari Bo Schmitz, who's in the gallery, works in the Human Resources Department with John, developing processes inside the organization and collaborations with our 35 departments, our 5 business lines, and Jamie Halpern, who's been instrumental working with the City of Bloomington School District in helping formulate the strategies that we're going to, I think, provide an overview or discuss this evening. So we talk about Hennepin Career Connections. Tom highlighted demographic information, statistical information. A day or a week does not go by where we don't read about the shortage. There's been a lot of discussion of this, a lot of hand-wringing, and about 2.5 years ago, county administration engaged the Hennepin County Board in a series of retreats, working sessions to talk about economic competitiveness, and one element of that we view as workforce development. So I discussed and mentioned what keeps me up at night. This keeps me up at night. Now, we have 8,000 employees. Of those, about 7,200 are full-time. Between now and 2020, we're going to see attrition, or individuals who are able to retire, as Tom mentioned, boomers. 34% of our workforce is retirement, is para-eligible. In addition to that, we experience about 8% attrition per annum, just general people moving on, changing jobs, or leaving the area. So when you look at a number of 40 to 42%, how are we as an employer going to deliver service? As a governmental unit, historically, we've told other employers through contract, through affirmative action, who they have to hire, how they have to hire, how they have to spend the money. This is an inward look. This is looking at us as an employer. Bloomington Public Schools, City of Bloomington, you're going to be in the same situation as all employers are, trying to recruit, retain, and capture the talent. So this is what we're doing. When I look at these numbers, I see that supervisors, managers, and directors, they're at much higher percentage rates. I would tell you that not a week or 2 goes by where I have a director come in who's been in our organization for 20, 25 years, and they're saying, David, I'm going to retire. I'm ready. I've been here a long time. With that, you look at the knowledge and how are we going to provide proper succession planning. So there's a whole host of things that we have to do introspectively, looking at ourselves as an organization to keep the same level of service or to provide the service that we do as an organization. And Hennepin, our North Star is serving residents. It's a big deal to us, making sure customer service is first and foremost, along with several other core values. Big challenge. So one of the things we did is we started to look at our human resource policies and practices. We have 385 job classes. We started to look at the types of barriers we put in place when we post and recruit. Postings through the Great Recession, we would have 300, 400 or more individuals apply. And through the process of posting a job and hiring, oftentimes the individuals who had advanced degrees were the individual candidates that were interviewed. And it also was at a point where most of the hires were individuals with minimum of a bachelor's degree. That's not necessarily the case for the entire population of Hennepin County, nor will it be. Individuals haven't pursued continued education. So what we did is we looked at job classes. We took about 20 of them, and we looked at what the minimum qualifications are. We eliminated a barrier or barriers. We also started to look at the job classes where we have critical need. Not that all job classes aren't critical, but we have large numbers of employees with high turnover. because of the demands and/or movement up in the organization. And so on the screen, you have 6 job classes where, on an annual basis, you can see there's fairly high attrition and/or hiring that goes on. So what we did is we looked at that top job class, human services representative. This is a frontline person that works at our human services hubs. You have one here in Bloomington at Veep, South Suburban Hub. They deal with people that are in crisis, high demand, high volume individuals that come in looking for assistance, public assistance, housing assistance, medical assistance, a whole host of needs. And so they are a frontline worker. High stress, high volume, lots of customer service. So we started to talk with some partners. You saw Mike Christensen from Minneapolis Community Technical College, a VP there. And then you saw Steve Kramer, who is now the executive director of the Downtown Council. At the time we started these conversations, he was the executive director of Project for Pride in Living. So what we tried to do with Project for Pride in Living and MCTC was set up a framework, a collaboration, a partnership, where individuals would be screened and enrolled into a program that was tailored specifically to Hennepin's needs as an employer. Human services rep, so we know we have some computer skills, we know that we have some customer service skills and other things associated understanding the complexities of the human services, Department of Human Services regs requirements. We created and crafted a 9-month training program at MCTC. Individuals were enrolled, and a significant number were enrolled. Was it 45 or so, John?
35 in the first
35.
class.
First class. PPL was there to provide holistic wraparound support services, so soft skills, making sure individuals got to school, had figured out daycare, childcare, all the important things that individuals with demanding lives need to have and figure out. So they were a support mechanism. There were counselors that worked with individuals enrolled. After completing the 9-month program, we, as an employer, Hennepin, offered a 3-week internship program. And over the 9 months, there was attrition, as you'd expect. But from that class of individuals that got through the 9 months, we had internships of approximately 24 individuals.
20 individuals.
That's why you're here, John. 20 individuals. They completed the internship. They went through interviewing, submission of resumes. And John, how many did we hire?
That'd be 17, David.
70. That number's right. 17 individuals. They're now in their probationary employment period. They're full-time equivalent employees earning over $18 an hour with benefits. So that's a living wage. So we started to set some goals, and we're very excited about those individuals. How many are still with us?
16 and the 17.
Okay. The next, it's like I'm questioning in court. So,
And that was a pilot project. The second cohort of individuals started the training, 35 the last week of February, and a third cohort of 35 is going to be starting in June.
So that's one job class. We've set goals in other job classes, IT, administrative assistant in the corrections area. We've set some lofty goals. John's going to talk about them momentarily. So the thing that we're trying to achieve is, one, user-friendly client. We, for years, have used an online application process system to apply. We're going to take a more hands-on approach with hiring managers and SOUPs, reviewing resumes, so that we can look at skills of individuals and make an assessment should they advance to the next round versus a logarithm or a computer telling people that they didn't meet min quals. We've changed.
Is it okay to interrupt with a question? Or should we get through the presentation first?
Make it short, I think we can.
And really easy, too. Well, he's here.
What was your pipeline for finding candidates for the job, for the training? Did I miss that in the presentation? How did you come across these candidates?
There are individuals who either were receiving supports working through Project for Pride in Living, or there were individuals that MCTC knew could be enrolled and fit the minimum quals that we were looking for in getting them into the program.
Actually, a key piece to how our pilot project has been structured is leveraging our existing relationships with community-based organizations. The county's in this business right now, providing direct vocational supports and employment services to individuals, and also engaging with community-based organizations in the county. Engaging them, engaging with the training partner, and then being the employer in this arrangement. So the program that comes together is tailored to our needs as an employer.
So it's almost like a referral system.
Well, what it is it's aligning one end of our business with our human resources needs.
Good enough.
And getting, and stacking wins as we go here.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
So the goals in a nutshell, creating a user-friendly climate for applicants, becoming an employer of choice. Big part of this is recruitment and retention, making sure we're staying current with our benefits. One of the things we've done here in the last year is we have modified and changed significantly our tuition reimbursement program. It used to be decentralized. Larger departments had more. To the economic crisis, smaller departments used some of those monies to manage their budgets. We've centralized it. We've created opportunities to reimburse individuals. So when an individual comes in with the 9 credits from MCTC or from Normandale, if they want to pursue their associate's degree, we'll help them do that. If they want to get their BA or BS, we'll help them do that. Once again, recruitment, retention, and advancement. We have a lot of internal courses that we offer employees to develop skills, leadership, managerial, and we want to keep our employees. If we've expended the time and effort, we want them to stay with us. One of the interesting facts I didn't give earlier, our median age is 49 and a half, and the average tenure with the organization is over 20 years. And then create opportunities going forward. So this is an action-oriented process, removing our barriers, creating opportunities, sharing with other employers. We don't have a copyright or patent on this. We want everybody to take it. If you want to borrow it, steal it, we'll be here to provide support and provide advice if you're interested in that. And then looking at the region, Tom mentioned that we need to be competitive. I think it's at a point where there'll be a crisis if we don't fill the tens of thousands of jobs that are going to be lost here through retirement, attrition. So with that, well, I have one other slide. So when we did our assessment 2.5 years ago, we looked across our organization. This small cluttered chart represents the 65 boxes in our organization that were doing work in either workforce supports, workforce development, and they were disassociated, decentralized, siloed. And John's role, part of it, with Kari and others in our Human Resources Department, is to make sure that we create the connections internally. The blue boxes are internal, the green boxes are external partners. So there's a lot going on. There's a lot that we have to do, though. So, John?
Sure. Thank you, David. Madam Chair, Mr. Maynor, members of the Board of Education and City Council, appreciate being here this evening to talk about this. My name is John Thorson. I'm the Workforce Development Coordinator at Hennepin County. David brought me on at the behest of the County Board earlier last year to bring vision, strategy, and alignment to this work that we're doing at Hennepin County. So on the supply side of this equation, Hennepin County has been in the business of providing direct services to individuals, vocational supports, and employment services for decades. It has been largely a supply-side game where we put inputs into the equation and hope for results. We hope that employers will hire these folks. Now, for the first time since World War II, Hennepin finds itself on the demand side of the equation. David Verrier laid out what keeps him up at night. Part of our job is figuring out the opportunity in front of us here of aligning one end of our business model to meet, first and foremost, for Hennepin County's workforce needs. And what we're doing is we're taking an assets-based approach to our human services and our services to residents of Hennepin County. As the video mentioned, upwards of 250,000 folks a day receive some kind of human services in Hennepin County. There's upwards of 50,000 open case files of folks under supervision in the corrections department as well. Within that, we're saying are the stranded assets that can help us solve for our workforce needs. And it's by bending one line of our business toward meeting our own business needs. So the Hennepin County model is first and foremost is looking at this through the lens of an employer. Recognize the changing demographics of our community, what's the tightening of the job market going forward. 2 years ago, the Hennepin County Board revisited its diversity and inclusion policy and established a business case for why, as an organization, it's vital for Hennepin County to build a diverse workforce and be an inclusive workplace. And it's for two things. One, to compete in the tightened job market going forward. That's what we need to do to compete with other employers for talent. And two, to deliver the highest quality services we can. Establishing that, so that's the lens through which we're approaching replacing folks that'll be retiring from service at Hennepin County. Taking our workforce planning and having that drive where we're going to be pointing training opportunities. Next, it's about removing barriers so more folks in the community can be considered for employment at Hennepin County, and more folks who work at Hennepin County can advance their careers. And that's recruitment strategies. We've got both place-based and attribute-based recruitment strategies. We've got 5 place-based strategies. North Minneapolis, the Brooklands, Cedar Riverside, Phillips. Outside the 694, 494 loop, where there's a great deal of need but not a lot of concentration, and then also along existing and planned transit corridors. There's people that need to be connected to jobs that those trains will allow to happen. And then creating the career pathways to get folks from there. And that's leveraging our existing relationships with community-based organizations and the direct service we're giving to folks in human services or in community corrections with training partners like Project for Pride and Living, Minskew campuses, and having those opportunities point right into jobs at the end at Hennepin County. And building partnerships to align those needs. Both partnerships with other employers, because quite frankly, we've got more capacity of folks that are receiving these services from us than we can hire at Hennepin County. The governor has defined the biggest threat to the continued economic growth and vitality of Minnesota over the next decade, the jobs gap, which has been identified in the metro area anywhere between 75,000 and 100,000 more jobs in the next decade than people ready to take them. That's not 75 or 100,000 more jobs than there will be people. That's people ready to take those jobs. So the partnerships and pathways that we've created to date are listed on the board. The human service rep pathway was outlined in the video. We're being very intentional about creating paid internship opportunities, work study opportunities. Our central IT office has identified 40 paid internship opportunities for students at MCTC. And we've created a SNAP hiring mechanism, so when supervisors want to bring someone on, they can make hires quicker. In Normandale Community College, starting in the fall, there'll be another 15 paid internship opportunities in our central IT offices. Again, looking at our needs, matching them with the curriculum of the institutions, creating the opportunity, and then this is the pathway into employment at Hennepin County. Leveraging our relationship with the university, the Career and College Academy, which you'll be hearing about shortly, and with an eye on how we can collaborate the services we're giving to county-involved youth and the services you're giving here at the schools, seeing where we can bring the two sides of the equation together to move folks. When we're dealing with them at the county, you're dealing with them in the schools toward vocational pathways that end up in jobs. This is the workforce development universe, the supply side of the equation, the demand side of the equation. Again, on the supply side of the equation, Hennepin has a very well-defined line of business. What we're starting to do is taking that and taking what was an open system and turning it into a closed system to solve for our workforce needs. But again, there's capacity for us to solve for other employers in the region as well. So through the Workforce Leadership Council, we're looking to engage with other employers, both private sector and public sector, to have access to the programming we're putting together and the pathways we're putting together through Career Connections. And we will be inviting both the Bloomington Public Schools and the City of Bloomington to join us in this effort. The state of Minnesota is coming with us. The University of Minnesota is coming with us. And the Minneapolis Downtown Council, the Minneapolis Area Chamber of Commerce, Optum, and other regional employers will be joining us as well. Because as we're putting together these pathways, some of them are tailored, again, first and foremost to our needs, but there are IT equivalents for any employer. There are office administrative equivalents for any employer. And we're able to take the assets we have on one side of this equation to solve for more problems on the other side of the equation. We have a tool we use at the county, Wanted Analytics, and this is a snapshot of data retrieved yesterday of how many job applications have been in our community, and this measures back for the last 4 months. If you look in the bottom left-hand corner, Hennepin County, Walser Automotive Group, the Hennepin County Medical Center, the Bloomington Schools, and the City of Bloomington combined, over the last 4 months, we've had over 1,700 job openings. We can take the infrastructure we're putting together here, the infrastructure that's coming together at the Career and College Academy, and we can start solving this equation on the employment side as well. So the power is there for us as employers. What's next? To continue the collaboration, to consider joining us at the Workforce Leadership Council, and we're able and happy to provide technical assistance in how we've gone about this so far, and wanting to engage and learn about what's going on in your organizations as employers, because we're hungry for that knowledge as well.
Madam Chair, Mr. Mayor, if I may, when we were presenting this, I was asked the question of what's the return on investment multiple times by commissioners. And as John said, when you're dealing with almost a fifth of the population of the county that interact with the county, are told what to do by the county, either under probation or human services, there's your ROI. They're receiving supports, receiving all sorts of things. If we're able to give an individual hope to create an opportunity either at Hennepin or another employer, to get them earning a wage that's a living wage, to give them the ability to pay taxes, to have a home, we've accomplished a great deal. I'm also asked a question, well, we thought Greater MSP is doing this. Greater MSP is looking at, one of their priorities, to recruit talent into the area. This is about the talent we have here. This is about the 1.2 million people that live in Hennepin and providing individuals here with opportunity to sustain and support our future. And also, we talk about D&I being representative of those communities that we serve. So we really appreciate, it's an exciting opportunity to present, and the fact that it's a joint meeting even makes it better. We're really excited about this and the future that it holds.
Thank you.
Now we'll move to Tom Holton, who's going to talk about our Career and College Academy.
And I'm going to bring Chief Jeff Potts up here to speak with me. And so I'm shifting hats from framing the problem to start framing what we've been looking at as a school district and working with our partners to say, what can we do, how can we change what we do, so that we're not just admiring the problem, but actually looking for some solutions. So I'm going to be talking about our College and Career Academy here in Bloomington, a new initiative that's been in the works. We've been thinking about, talking about what we might be doing for about a half a dozen years, and finally at the point where we're launching something, so we'll get to some of the whys and the hows and describe that for you. First of all, is a graphic up here that you see all over our district, and this is really something that's evolved over the last 5 years or so. And this is Bloomington's way of describing its strategic plan. And starting with prenatal, establishing milestones for our students of what it takes for every individual student, and then collectively where we expect our students to be preschool ready, kindergarten ready, on all the way up to college and career ready. Interestingly enough, we adopted these milestones probably 4 or 5 years ago. We've changed them a little bit, but in all their wisdom, the Minnesota State Legislature created the world's best workforce legislation, and lo and behold, all of our milestones showed up in that legislation. So we think copying is a great form of flattery, and we again take pride in being living up to our moniker of being leaders in education, and really think we're leading the way. And so, of course, tonight we're going to be talking mostly about college and career ready. That is one of the state milestones. Again, not enough just to graduate students, but we need to graduate those students now by law to either be college and career ready, with the idea that they're someday actually going to have a job and be producers in the economy. I'll give you a little bit of Bloomington graduation data to say what our challenges are. If you take 100 of our students who enter 9th grade in Bloomington today, if our past trend holds, 90 of them will graduate. We have a just over 90% graduation rate. That's fantastic. It's fantastic for the state. It's fantastic, across the country. And 10 of those 90 will take more than 4 years. 63 of those graduates will enroll in a post-secondary education after high school. Of those, about 32 will earn a degree on time, and taking 6 years, which is becoming more and more common. If you have had students go through college, about 52 of them will earn their degree within 6 years. That means that there's about 48% of our Bloomington students where we do a fantastic job of graduating our students and providing a tremendous education that aren't going on to get a post-secondary degree. And if you remember that earlier figure of over 70% of all the jobs are going to need some kind of post-secondary certificate or degree, we're not going to cut it in filling those jobs that we need to fill from a Bloomington standpoint. And furthermore, that 4-year degree comes with an average debt of $30,894. And if you think back to that poverty figure, you can see right from the onset one of the reasons that many of those students don't complete that degree or even go on to get a post-secondary degree is that barrier of finance. Education after high school is very expensive. And as our poverty rates increase, the likelihood that students are going to have the ability to go on decreases. So there's some reasons to change, and we've been looking at this data, admiring it for a while, and these are some of the things that have driven us to change. We're much like the state of Minnesota in that 27% have a degree or certificate after 4 years, and 49% after 6 years. So we're like very similar to the state of Minnesota. And then furthermore, of those people that have degrees, I won't go through them all, and you might have one of these people living in your basement at home that you paid and got a great 4-year degree or maybe a master's degree. Here's some of the jobs that those people with 4-year degrees are holding today. So not only is it a problem that we're not sending enough kids on to get those degrees and certificates, but those degrees aren't matching up what the demand of the workforce is. Again, we have this aging population. Minnesota businesses can't find the candidates that they need, and we're going to have this increasing demand for these jobs. So we're creating a new opportunity here in Bloomington we call Career and College Academy. And I'm going to describe some of that, of the Academy for you here tonight. We started thinking here in Bloomington and said, what if we brought post-secondary education into the high school? Job training into the schools, preparing our students for real jobs that pay real money, livable wages? What if students graduated from high school with some college credits already completed? What impact would that have on our students, our community, and the business in our community? What if we help students identify earlier what jobs they were taking, maybe as early as middle school? So they take the coursework on the way, so when they got to college, they weren't saying, boy, I wish I'd taken that before. What if we created individual learning plans so that each student had a path that they could identify with and say, that's something I want to accomplish earlier on in their educational career? And what if we had navigators that would help students, adults, that maybe could be a little bit more forward-looking than an adolescent might tend to be, and say, what do I want to be when I grow up, and help them identify the choices that will help them get there. And we had those navigators help them explore careers, connect those careers to the real world, make those selections, and then ultimately be successful. And so we started looking at that new opportunity and said, what would it mean for students if we identified some career tracks for them, gave them some options, didn't force them into a particular career, but gave them choices and opportunities? What if we could provide a student that could earn both high school credit and college credit at the same time when they're in high school? What if they could earn a technical degree or get post-secondary certification while they were still in high school, so that the minute they left high school, they could start in a high-paying job and help pay for that additional education that they might need? And what if they were prepared? They had the skills that they needed that matched up with the jobs that were there. And we thought we could do all of those things, but we didn't think we could do them alone. I missed one, and maybe the most important. What if you could do that and it didn't cost the student anything? So what would that mean for students if we did that? We allowed them to explore early on. We could widen our pool, so we could look at some of those 48% that aren't going on and say, how could we get a large percentage of those students that opportunity for that post-secondary? And then give that significant advantage, both of money and the time to get to a career. If you look at the return of a livings over a lifetime, you have to take 6 years out of it to go to school, where you're only spending and incurring debt, where you could be earning at that same time. There's a huge benefit in that. And so we looked to partners, and partners literally came out of the woodwork. We have partners post-secondary institutions, both public and private. We have nonprofits. We have businesses that have approached us. The city has stepped up to the plate to help us with this. And one of our greatest challenges is to tell people, slow down. We can't have 100 career pathways in the first year we open this. So we've been working with partners, developing these career pathways for Career and College Academy. And so in the fall of 2015, our academy is going to be opening, and we are going to be serving students out of the community education campus, the old Lincoln High School, General Dynamics, people know them from those names. And students will attend their home high school. They won't have to leave high school. They'll be at Kennedy or Jefferson for the majority of the day, and they'll be able to come to the academy and enroll in parts of or full tracks of these career pathways. And again, doing all of those things that we stated that were our goals, the what-ifs. What if they could start earning a certificate or post-secondary credit while they're still in high school, not pay for it, get assistance along the way, get internships, get real-life experience, and we're able to do all of that. And so we're excited about that opportunity. Again, we have waiting in the wings other people to talk to you about their role in this, and we have many more people that want to be involved in 2016 and 2017 and beyond, and so we're really looking forward to that. And we had modest goals. We didn't expect every student and every family to say, no, I'm going to leave my home high school and try this new untested idea. But we've been really overwhelmed by the acceptance, both parents, kids, and families, of all demographic backgrounds and interests. And so we've enrolled over 200 students on our first enrollment. Students enrolled through their home catalogs, picking these courses as electives or as math STEM credits. And students are signed up for over 300 individual classes for our rollout year in 15 and 16. And again, we were trying to say, how can we serve students that wouldn't necessarily be destined to go on to college? We're not limiting it to anyone, and we're not saying that it's only a special demographic, but we're going to focus on those students that typically wouldn't be students you'd see go on to college. And we're really excited about one demographic that we're working with the county and identifying our foster students, again, the people on that Mr. Thorson and Mr. Bruff talked about in terms of those receiving services from the county, and get ahead of that and change that cycle of poverty and say, how can we get these kids on a track so that they can earn good jobs and get out of the situation they're in. And so we're looking at foster students, and we're looking also at homeless students. And I know as I travel around Bloomington, when you share statistics, and I don't know if people are pretending to be dismayed or they truly are, but I have it in my notes here somewhere, and I lost it, but there it is. Any guess how many homeless students attending Bloomington high schools we have right now?
200.
127. So if you want to talk about poverty and challenges and barriers, we have 127 identified homeless students. And so we're going to go after with a vengeance, working with counselors, with OASIS, with the county, to say, how can we support those students, get them on a pathway that will take them to a job with a livable wage. So we're excited about the opportunity. I'm pretty excited. A lot of people in Bloomington are excited about it. I'm going to show you a short video, and then if you have further questions about the details, I'd be glad to share those with you later. But we think we're changing the conversation about how education is delivered. We're trying to re-engage people with hands-on learning, those students that learn better that way, inspire students to go to college, and provide opportunities and give advantages to our students right here in Bloomington, and we're excited about it. So here's a short video, and then I'll
There are many paths to success in life, and they all start right here in high school. Whether you know what career you'll choose, or if you'll go to college, the decisions you make during these years can take you far. The Career and College Academy is a new option for students to start a career path while in high school. Career and College Academy helps students to get ahead by taking courses for high school credit and college credit at the same time. You can start on a path to a career in information technology, criminal justice or law enforcement, health sciences, or the building and construction trades.
I'd like to work in information technology. By enrolling in Career and College Academy, I can take college IT classes during high school without paying tuition.
I'm not ruling out college, but I'm ready to get right to work. By enrolling in Career and College Academy, I can start on my path to a nursing career while I'm still in high school. I will graduate prepared to get my registered nursing assistant certification. Now that's smart thinking.
I'm thinking of a career in law enforcement. By enrolling in Career and College Academy, I can start on my path to a degree while still in high school. I'll learn from instructors in the field, and I'll make valuable connections with law enforcement professionals. I will graduate with college credits and a head start toward my career goals.
I know I want to continue my education after high school, but paying for it will be a challenge. By enrolling in Career and College Academy, I can get college credits in a field I'm interested in without having to pay tuition. That's going to put me ahead right from the start.
Minnesota companies and industries need qualified workers for well-paying, in-demand jobs. By 2020, 74% of all jobs in Minnesota will require some post-secondary education. Career and College Academy students will be prepared with hands-on applied learning and job training.
No one expects you to have it all figured out. In Career and College Academy, you'll earn college credits with no tuition while you're still in high school. That's an easy decision. Enroll today and get a head start on your future.
And again, we could have people lined up all down the hall that have wanted to help us with this, and one of the first to come to the table was the city's very own Chief Jeff Potts, and he's going to talk to you a little bit about what he's doing in terms of helping recruit, retain, and provide real-life experiences on those students that may not have thought of or are interested in becoming a sworn police officer. So I'm going to have Jeff Potts talk to us about what he's doing, helping us launch our College and Career Academy.
Thanks, Tom. And for those who don't know, my name is Jeff Potts. I've been with the city for 24 years, been the police chief for about 6.5 years. Have had many conversations with the superintendent over those 6 years, in the last several months with other members of the staff here about this program. I'm very excited. Law enforcement faces a lot of challenges these days, and I'm not going to sit here and talk about all those, but we're all very aware. I suppose if you turned on the news tonight, you'd be seeing yet another challenge we face in our country. Fortunately, not so many of them right here in Bloomington, but we know that could change. And so it excites me to talk about this challenge, about this opportunity, because I think it helps deal with one of those challenges that we face here in Bloomington. It's a challenge that law enforcement's facing all over the country, and that is from a diversity standpoint, are you a department that is reflective of your community? And we struggle with that right here in Bloomington. We do okay. Our police department is about 90% white. Our community is about 80% on the whole. So we lag a little bit there. We do better than some places, but we still have a gap in diversity. And in terms of recruiting police officers, that's a challenge because the traditional law enforcement candidate pool is very white. It is not very diverse. And Normandale Community College does a great job at producing candidates, but it is very similar to the rest of the candidates that come out of the law enforcement programs throughout the state. And so one day I was having coffee with Les, or Superintendent Fujitaki, and we were talking about that challenge. And at the same time, this program was kind of being developed, and we got to talking about, geez, the potential right here in Bloomington, when you look at the diversity in your schools, we know that you have 10,000 plus students in this community. That's a very diverse pool of police candidates, I think. Talk about a return on the investment. If we could turn some of those 10,000 students that you have into police officers and do it right here in our own community and help address this diversity thing, I can't think of a better return on that investment. And so we started talking about perhaps one of the programs in the Career and College Academy being a law enforcement program is just one way to help attract diversity to the Bloomington Police Department. You're going to hear from Doug Belton here in a few minutes about some other things that we're working on where we may have an opportunity to start those recruitment efforts even earlier than 11th grade, I think, is when this program starts. He's going to talk about some things even earlier. But this, I think, will help us close that gap here in Bloomington. I think it'll be an opportunity with this program to help close the gap in a lot of other communities. Because frankly, we have 118 sworn positions. We won't be able to hire all the people that are in this pool. But I think there'll be good candidates for elsewhere. We like to look at this as an opportunity maybe to bring them into the police department in non-sworn capacity. As soon as they get into high school, they can join our Explorer program. This is another pool of candidates that we can attract to come be a part of the Bloomington Police Department as non-sworn, perhaps even if they transition from high school into Normandale Community College, we can look at them as CSO or Community Service Officer candidates. That's a non-sworn position that they come and work for us and do a lot of work that's just below the level of sworn officer. And I know that this isn't something that we're going to see change overnight, but I can't wait for the day that I stand in front of our city council, and I hope that some of the school board members are watching that night too, and we swear in one of these officers who gets hired from this program, because I think that day will come. Really, I just wanted to speak to how I see this program really impacting, the Bloomington Police Department and our law enforcement community here. But you saw the list of programs, and I can't help but think that all of those programs are going to benefit just like we will someday.
Thank you. Thank you. Now I'd like to invite Dr. Joyce Esther to come to the table from Normandale Community College.
Chair, Mayor, excuse me, and my name is Joyce Esther, and I serve as the president of Normandale Community College. Before I begin, I want to introduce Julie Gulick, our vice president of academic affairs, who is here. And a lot of this work comes out of the work of our student affairs and our academic affairs area. I'm not going to be before you long, but I think that our title really speaks to why we're here and we want to be a part of this. We are Normandale Community College, and community is really all about who we are and what we do. And so to be a part of a partnership like this is the key to our success. And when I first came on board, one of the things that I was really excited about with Normandale was the partnerships. We have partnerships with our K-12 partners as well as our baccalaureate and graduate degree programs. And so it's a really wonderful opportunity to get a hold of our students and our future early on when they're in high school and before they come to Normandale. So we're really excited to be a part of this. So I'm not going to be before you long, but our presentation is pretty simple. One of the things that they asked us to talk about was that this whole partnership, this is not just a Normandale thing. This is not just a Bloomington thing. This is a Minskew thing. Our Board of Trustees, and I'm not going to read all that, but I highlighted in wonderful Normandale red some of the important things that come from one of our board policies. And some of the things that it highlights in that first sentence, the academic programs of the Minskew system should prepare graduates for work, life, and citizenship. And I think that programs like this partnership really allows us to do that, because we know that students don't come into Normandale, fully ready and baked to do all the things that they want to do in life, and it's programs like this that will help us achieve our goals, so partnerships are key. And I also have a tendency to talk very fast, so let me know if I do that.
Please slow down and breathe.
So, and again, if anyone wants this, I'll give you this slide. But again, I think that the whole point of this is that this is in alignment what we are trying to also do. In the news, and if you follow what we're doing in Minskew, we also have our Charting the Future initiative. It's very important for us to be thinking about looking at higher education in a very different way and thinking about how are we helping our students of the future. And the strategic framework for Charting the Future includes ensuring access to an extraordinary education for all Minnesotans. And I've highlighted access because, again, I think that as Chief Potts talked about, we talk about diversity. Students have to know that they have a place, and they have to feel like they're welcomed in our careers, in our schools, and so access is so very important. The second one I think is actually key to this, is to be the partner of choice to meet Minnesota's workforce and community needs. We talked a little bit earlier about just the cost. It costs a lot to go to higher education, and so we know that when we have students who can go through a program like Career and College Academy at a no cost to them, if they can come to schools like Normandale, where we have low costs, where students can get an education without incurring a lot of debt, that's going to be important. A lot of us, who, I don't know about the rest of you, but I incurred debt from undergrad and grad school, and I was one of those people who, when I, paid off my undergrad, I decided to go back to grad school, right? And so, as someone once joked that probably on my tombstone it will say, "Here lies Joyce and Fannie Mae." But we hope that our students, if we can put them on a pathway to programs like this, that they won't have those challenges that we're having. So. And then the last one, deliver to students, employers, communities, taxpayers the highest value and the most affordable. At Normandale, we really pride ourselves on providing wonderful world-class education. As I'm often reminded that Normandale, we specialize in the scholarship of teaching and learning, and this program allows us to do that. Really quickly, of course, I wouldn't be any good president if I didn't toot my horn and tell you a little bit about Normandale. And so I know you all know this, but we are the third largest college in the Minskew system and the largest community college. We do not have a lot of some of the technical programs, and so that's where the distinction when we talk about community college, there are some schools that are community and technical college and a lot more comprehensive. Our enrollment, as of our FY14 numbers, we enroll about 14,000 folks who come in and out of our doors. So it's a pretty large school. 638 employees, give or take, depending on what day it is, and 354 are faculty members, and we're really proud of our faculty. We also had the wonderful opportunity to be able to hire some additional full-time faculty into our ranks for the fall. Our Normandale student to instructor ratio is 22-1, and that's another thing that makes it very special when you come into the community college, so that you're not in a class with 300 of your closest friends. You're not in a class being taught by TAs. You are taught by our faculty, and so many of our faculty have terminal degrees in their field, and so we're very proud of that. Also, I think it's really important, even though we're talking about this partnership with Bloomington schools, we also need you to understand that nearly a third of our students are 25 years or older, so we also deal with adult populations. But if you think about some of the demographics that have been shared, some of these folks are folks that maybe graduated from high school and then went off to work and then decided to come back. There are some people who had a career, did something different, and there's some people who've just kind of, hung around for various reasons. So it's very important that for us to look at all of our populations that come into Normandale. We have about a third of our students are students of color. That's so very important to us. And 18% of the Normandale incoming freshmen were first-generation college student. Again, I think where programs like the College and Career Academy are so very important, when you're a first-generation college student, you don't necessarily have the people in your life who are going to be able to help you and give you that information, to tell you about advising, to tell you how to ask the right questions. And so I think that that's why this is so very important. I just want to highlight some of the partnerships that we already have with Bloomington is PSEO. And so oftentimes people confuse all of the different programs. So this was just a way to explain to people the differences. So PSEO, those are where high school students come in and they're taught by our college faculty. Concurrent enrollment, these are taught at the high school, and they follow the traditional schedule of the school. And something that we're really excited on that we're working on now is what we're calling college credit by contract, where we're working with the schools to really engage in some really creative ways to meet the needs of our students. And one of the ones that we're really excited about is Dimensions Academy. And I don't know how many of you are familiar with Dimensions Academy, but it's a wonderful partnership between Bloomington Schools and Normandale, where we design a wonderful experience for exceptional 9th and 10th graders. And these young people are very, very bright, and they're taught by our Normandale faculty in a cohort model. And so I had the wonderful opportunity every now and then peek in and watch them and engage in it. And, I was talking to one of their instructors or one of their teachers, and these students for the first time were really challenged in being able to take some of these courses. So just so you know, these are the classes they took in 9th grade: math, college algebra, environmental geology, pre-calculus, principles of chemistry. These are, again, 9th and 10th graders. 10th, and then in 10th grade, they'll take Calculus 1. This looks like my freshman year schedule at college, but Introduction to Engineering Design, Calculus 2, Physics with Calculus 1. So I don't know how many of us in this room could get through this curriculum, but these students do. Again, and Career Academy, and other folks have talked about this, but this is kind of our parts of this is a unique collaborative approach. We think it's great. It's not your normal dual enrollment because it's kind of a hybrid of all of the things I talked about before. But I think that that's what's so important. I have the opportunity next week to be on a panel where we're talking about the future of higher education, but I think it's the future of education in general. We have to think about things differently. We cannot keep doing it the same way, the way it was done when we went to school. And programs like this really takes a really integrated look at all of the things that our students need. So at Normandale, the classes that are being taught are our health sciences, and so you can see the courses: criminal justice and information technology. I'm done. And so afterwards, we'll be able to ask any questions. So thank you, and we're so very proud to be a part of this partnership. Mayor, you have something looks like you want to say?
Well, no, Dr. Esther, I mean, just more of a formal welcome to you. You've been with us in the community now for about a year as president of Normandale Community College, and I think everyone can realize, I think you've gotten about 3 years' worth of work done in the 1 year you've been here, because there's an incredible amount of energy there, and thank you. Please stay the course, and just formally welcome you to our community.
Thank you. I mean, I would love to take all the credit, but I graciously inherited a fantastic institution.
That brings us to a presentation by the Walser Foundation. And Nancy Warner is here to talk to us from Walser.
And before they start,
Do you want Don to come up?
Walser has been a partner from the beginning. In their flexibility, they had a person that couldn't make it tonight, and so in addition to Nancy, Don Schilling is going to be part of the presentation tonight. But before we do that, I must mention this teamwork externally has been fantastic. We've got people in the audience that have helped build the forerunners of this. Tamara Seaver, our adult education director, created a model like this for students, immigrant students in our adult basic education program. We hired Gary Cresson, who was the coordinator of the program, that brought ideas that he initiated with the Mayo Clinic down in Rochester. So it's been a great team effort. But one of the things that was amazing to me is, again, I mentioned earlier, I'm used to working in a field where I come up with a harebrained idea, and then I have to go out and I have to find partners and sell it to them once, 2, 3 times, beg them to come to the table. And I don't know if I just we hit on a good idea here or what, but we had hardly just released the idea of the College and Career Academy with a press release, and the phone started ringing, and it was people from Walser. And they said, how can we help? And again, we had already established our pathways for 2015 by doing the research on livable wage jobs, what jobs are in demand, where do we have partnerships where we can put together a program and give kids a fantastic experience. But we've literally had to hold our hands up like this and say, we want you to be involved. But Walser, from the very beginning, called us up and said, we're a community partner. We can fill some voids there. We want to be a partner. And so we want them tonight to tell you from their experience how they see coming to the table. And I'll turn it over to them, and they can talk about that. So thanks for being here.
Thank you for having us here tonight. And as Tom said, I wasn't originally the speaker, so I don't have a PowerPoint or a video or anything exciting to show you. But I am the foundation director, and I can tell you how this partnership came to be. We give 5% of pre-tax earnings to the foundation and reinvest in the communities where we operate businesses, where our employees live, work, and play. And Paul Walser, the CEO, saw a special on 60 Minutes on Year Up and that program and how it changes young people's lives by helping them get careers. And he came to me and said, how do we do this? How do we make an impact? Instead of just spreading money around the community, I want to change people's lives. And I think the next week, the Star Tribune had an article on the Academy. So it was perfect timing. I contacted Gary, and we met, and as Tom said, the tracks had already been picked for this coming school year, but we still want to support the Academy in its first year and then offer an automotive track the following year. And we've discussed having classrooms at the site that you've already picked, but then also having Walser offer an actual learning lab for auto repair skills at one of our sites, having advisors from our company on the advisory board and helping develop the program. Just this past month, the Minnesota Auto Dealers had to lobby to keep the program at St. Paul Central High School, the automotive program, because that was going to be cut from the budget. There are so few automotive tracks in education opportunities for undergraduates. But we really just came to the Academy more from the foundation approach, and then it just worked out perfectly that we could also feed our workforce, because like everyone else's, it's aging out and it's harder to find kids with the skills that are interested in going into automotive repair, collision repair, things that we need workers for. Don, do you have anything? Don is our community liaison and facilities manager.
Well, Don, it's good to see you again, because Don has appeared before us at the city council level many times when Walser is building, remodeling, doing all that they do, because they have a considerable number of dealerships.
And that's been our biggest challenge. We've got opportunities out there to grow that we can't take advantage of because we're short on resources, and the biggest resource is our employees. If we had a larger feeder program for our both technical and non-technical job functions, we would be able to take advantage and grow to a bigger organization than we are. We've got 400 employees in just our Bloomington sites, and that doesn't include any administrative. Those are purely technical jobs or sales staff or management or everything related to the sales and the service automobiles. The numbers are surprisingly close to what I saw earlier tonight from Hennepin County, is that attrition is happening with us. We've got an older technical workforce that that we're struggling with how to build that from, from the entry level. And this just seems to be a natural fit, both for us and the foundation and from an employer standpoint.
I just had a general question for Tom and all of the other partners. When we talk about the Career and College Academy, I mean, some of these high school students, if they get some certification or anything, could be starting out at $18 to $25 an hour working so that they could continue their secondary education while they're pursuing these other types of things. So it's a real advantage for some of those who aren't on a college track to get into career tracks.
Thank you. Just want to indicate how great it is that the private sector is doing what you're doing. I realize it's through a foundation, but taxpayers rightly want to make sure, we've talked about return on investment tonight, and to realize that the private sector is also seeing the same needs and willing to step forward is, thank you.
To all of the subject matter that that's been presented and we've been talking about tonight, I have to say that it's, you're really starting to, and I think things are hitting the surface where you're identifying solutions. Whereas I think these are issues and problems that have been admired for a long, long time. And what's going on, and I look at the county level and I look or what's been presented and you see what appears to be working. And then, you look at how the different things that have been presented and how they can and will work. And, Mr. Huff, Mr. Thorson, your examples down there was kind of interesting. You were able to capture, I'm going to say, both ends of you've recruited or found candidates to put their education to fill a specific position. And it's one of the things, the way my mind works, and it's kind of sad the way my mind works, but your human services rep example that you used, instead of giving a person a fish, you taught them to give people fish. It was kind of a, to play off of that, and I know that it's just an example that's there, but it was, I think, indicative of some of the challenges. You indicated that you had roughly, from the recruitment through the education, through the training, internship, you ended up with about 50%. And that's when you had specific people identified on both ends of that spectrum. And so with that said, that has really been the challenge, is to connect the students or whoever is this, and identifying, first of all, a career path at a fairly early age, and that can be risky. It's when someone is thinking in the high school ages, what do you want to be when you grow up, kind of thing. So they're setting on a path that maybe makes sense when you're a junior or senior in high school, but can change over time. And it's just the challenge, and I think it's the challenge we've all been aware of. But then connecting it, and then really shortening the time of the education that needs to fulfill that and get into that career. And I think you're identifying ways to do that, which I think can lead and will lead to success. So I'm just so happy to see this, because I think you've all started to identify solutions and you're putting things in play that will get us there. And so I got to say, this is encouraging, because I think we all are aware that this has been the problem and the challenge going forward. So how do we continue to support what you're doing and let this thing play itself out? Everything is kind of in the infancy stage now and working through it, and I'm sure that things will change and there'll be different directions things go, but how do we support you and hope you stay the course? And that's the question I would throw out. So what can we do to do it? And here in Bloomington, which Bloomington, as mayor, I do state all the time that Bloomington is the center of the universe. And so as we educate people in Bloomington, we want them to stay here and be involved here. But I think we need to realize that let's do a good job, because this will allow our residents, students to go and grow and prosper elsewhere also. So, but let's stay the course, and what can we do to help? Yeah, no, there isn't an answer, I think, but I mean, I'm throwing that out kind of as a rhetorical question, that I think we are here to help, and if you can think of a way we can, and I would look to my council and say, if any ideas, and I think we are willing and ready to do whatever we can from the city's perspective to help things along. So.
One of the comments I just had is I remember when I was in school, the conversation was always, you go to school to get an education, you don't go to school to get a job. And I remember even then thinking, yeah, but if you just spent $80,000, you're going to have to find some way to pay that back, right? So I like that we're sort of changing the focus a little bit, saying, yes, you do need to go to school to get an education. It also helps if you go to school and get an education in something that will provide for you in the future. And so I think everything that I've heard tonight, it sounds very promising for the community and for the state of Minnesota as a whole. And I think we're going on the right track. We're definitely filling a need, especially for those students that maybe wouldn't be able to necessarily just go to school and not have to worry about paying it back, whether through finances or through scholarship opportunities that they may have. So, yeah, I'm very excited, and thank you all for being here and sharing with us.
Well, the final item on our agenda tonight is a brief update on the district's equity work as a follow-up to the December meeting and the joint community police partnership we have with the Bloomington Police Department. Here to share brief updates are Eric Melby, our Executive Director of Student Services, and Doug Belton, Bloomington Police Community Liaison.
Chair Bartolotta, Mayor Winstead, thank you for the opportunity to address joint boards tonight. I'm Eric Melby. I'm the Director of Student Services for the school district, and that's always fun to tell people, and then they say, well, what's student services? So I'll tell you a little bit about that. Student Services Department is a large department, and the four biggest areas in student services are special education, English learners, and quick fact, Bloomington is now a top 10 district in the state of Minnesota in terms of numbers of English learner students in the district. Again, tying into the diversity stats and conversations you've heard earlier tonight. Health services, so nursing services in the district fall within student services, and the Offices of Educational Equity and Office of Family Engagement fall into student services. As you've seen and heard tonight, exciting opportunities abound for students and families in Bloomington. It's also been noted that we're becoming a more diverse community and school district. In an effort to better connect our diverse learners with opportunities in the district and community, we've recently welcomed the district's Department of Family Engagement into the Student Services Department, soon to be known as the Learning Supports Department. That may be another meeting where we come and talk about that. So they'll be coming in with the Office of Educational Equity. The two offices will be merging over the course of the next year, and positions will be supporting students and families in their college and career journeys. You heard Tom, I think, mention earlier about Pathway College and Career Navigators. Those kind of positions, some of that will be coming through that department, some of that support, so that our diverse students and families have a clear understanding of what their options are and how to take advantage of those options. I'd also like to acknowledge and promote an upcoming event at Kennedy High School that will help promote growth and understanding in our diverse community. Kennedy High School will host a community forum titled "It's Time to Talk About Race" from 9 to noon on Saturday, May 9th in the school's cafeteria. The forum will engage diverse community members in guided conversations around the impact of racism and race relations in America. The event aims to equip participants with the tools and confidence to actively improve race relations in the workplace, in the community, and with family and friends. The event is free and open to the public. You can find information about that on our website, and actually in the crowd tonight is Radius Guest, one of our family engagement folks from the district, and if anybody's interested in learning more about that event, she could certainly talk to you after this event and give more information. I don't have a big PowerPoint like some of the folks tonight. I just wanted to introduce myself to everybody, let you know a little bit about what we're doing with some of that equity work in the district. I should note, too, that this Friday is Diversity Day in the district, and there'll be a number of events happening, including the peace walk between Jefferson and Kennedy High School. That being said, I want to introduce you to Doug Belton, Bloomington Police Department, and he's going to share some information about some programming that they're doing that ties the district and department together as well.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Doug Belton, and I am with the Joint Community Police Partnership. I am a Hennepin County employee who's embedded in the Bloomington Police Department. I've been with Joint Community Police Partnership since September of 2014, so I'm really starting to get to know more people in the community and get to see what's going on, excuse me, get acquainted with what's going on in Bloomington. I wanted to share with you a few things that are going on with the JCPP. First of all, Joint Community Police Partnership came about around a little over 10 years ago. Started with the two Brooklyns, Brooklyn Center and Brooklyn Park, and has now includes 6 cities in the metro, excuse me, includes 6 cities in the metro area. One of the things that I do is I chair the Multicultural Advisory Committee for Bloomington. Right now, we have about 8 people on our Multicultural Advisory Committee, and we meet monthly to talk about things that are going on in the community, and we plan events for the future. I did want to put in one plug for the Multicultural Advisory Committee, the MAC Committee. At our monthly meetings, we actually have a hot meal at our meetings, so no box lunches. It's a hot meal. Just wanted to plug that in. So if you know anybody that's interested in being a part of our MAC, there are instructions on how to do that at the city's website. Excuse me. So what is the JCPP? It's really a way for law enforcement to connect with multicultural communities. We provide training. We provide, basically, we act as a liaison between the police department and the communities of color, immigrant communities in particular, in the various cities. Right now, as I said, there are 6 cities that are part of the Joint Community Police Partnership: Bloomington, Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, Hopkins, Richfield, and St. Louis Park. I wanted to point out that these cities are kind of set up in a sense kind of like partner cities. Right now, we're doing a lot of work with the Richfield Multicultural Advisory Committee, and one of the things we did last night was we had a showing of the film Documented. I know some of you were here for that. It was a really great event, had a great turnout, and a lot of wonderful conversation after that about immigration and what we can do to get involved in the immigration discussion that's going on in the country today. The vision for the Joint Community Police Partnership is to ensure healthy, safe, and livable communities for diverse residents of Bloomington, Brooklyn Center, Brooklyn Park, Hopkins, Richfield, and St. Louis Park. At this time, I want to share some statistics with you, and I want you to kind of keep these in mind as I go through the rest of this presentation. This is taken from the 2010 census. State of Minnesota, we had 15% ethnically diverse as of the 2010 census, so 85% white. Now that's for the state of Minnesota. And this kind of gets to the issue of why do we have a joint community police partnership? What is our role? What is our goal? What are we trying to do? Dealing with these diverse communities that we have found that police departments have special needs in terms of understanding the communities they serve, and there needs to be a liaison to help to guide through that. Now, just to give a little background on myself, I've been involved in public safety for over 30 years now, working about 10 years in corrections at Oak Park Heights Correctional Facility, and about 15 years in law enforcement, including about 12 years working with the Minneapolis Police Department, and then also with another department in Texas. And I can tell you that if they had had a joint community police partnership or community liaisons when I was in law enforcement, it would have made my work in North Minneapolis a lot easier, a lot smoother. But some people that are a whole lot smarter than me got together and decided that this was a program worth building on, and here we are today with 6 cities involved in this program. So that's for the state of Minnesota, 15% ethnically diverse. Now we come to the city of Bloomington. Now, this statistic right here is taken as of the 2010 census. You can see we're about 21% ethnically diverse here, 79% white. Now, Something I want to note about that is that this was taken as of the 2010 census. However, if you look at the 2000 census, you will see that we were only about 12% ethnically diverse in the city of Bloomington. So it has actually almost doubled in 10 years. My prediction is that by the time we have the next census, it will probably close to double again. And so the numbers we're looking at right now are 5 years behind. I would say that we're far more ethnically diverse than what this slide shows. Now here's an interesting slide. This shows, and I'm sure you're all familiar with these statistics, this shows Bloomington Public Schools, which is about 44% ethnically diverse. Something I want to point out about this statistic is, number one, the source of this, it was taken actually for the 2012-2013 school year. So that's about 3 years after the U.S. Census was taken. The other thing that's obviously notable is that you see it's 44% ethnically diverse. Now that could be accounted for by a couple of things, one of which is that not all of our students that are in school here live here. But I think the other thing affecting this statistic is the fact that we've had a few years since the census was taken and when this was done. So I think you're seeing some growth in our ethnic diversity in the population of the city of Bloomington here as well. So I wanted you to keep those in mind as I go through some slides and talk about what Joint Community Police Partnership has been doing in Bloomington in the year 2015, what we've done so far and where we're going. So just keep those statistics in mind, and then we're going to come back around. Incidentally, I did pass out a brochure when I first started. It is a K2C brochure. I have to make something clear. This is a concept program at this point. It is only a concept program. And I have to make that clear, otherwise I'll get in trouble with my chief back here. He wanted to make sure, because the thing is, if you like this program, if you're excited about it, we'll talk about it in a second here. I don't want you passing these brochures out to all the kids in the neighborhood, because I'll say for the third time, this is a concept only. So, for 2015, we started out the year by participating in the Career and College Academy Open House. Our role there was really to show some of the kids that were coming through there what it would be like or what opportunities are available to them in law enforcement. I had a great opportunity to talk to a lot of the kids because at age 17 and 16, kids may have an idea that they want to get involved in law enforcement, but they're not sure. So this was our opportunity to talk to these kids, tell them a little bit about what law enforcement has to offer in terms of pay, benefits, some of the fun, adventure, that sort of thing, and give them some incentive as to why they should get involved in the law enforcement track in the Career and College Academy. On March 2nd, we did our second annual Community Resource Fair at Metro South. Last year, my predecessor started this program with Mike Larson over at Metro South. This year, we had a number of people from the county and the city, various different resources and programs, letting people that are in that program know what resources are available to them. A lot of the folks, as you know, that are going to that program are new Americans, immigrants, and so we just wanted to let them know what services were available. March 18th, got involved in the Kennedy Job Fair. We have ongoing meetings with the DDAC as an opportunity to sit down once a month with folks from the OEE and talk a little bit about challenges that our children are facing in the schools. May 1st, Diversity Day Fair. I think someone just mentioned that at Jefferson High School. We will be there for that as well. May 9th is Time to Talk. Eric just got done mentioning that. We will also be present at that at Kennedy High School. And on September 26th and October 3rd, we're going to be doing our second annual Youth Academy. This is a real interesting program that started, I did not invent this by any means, but what we do is we take kids ages from about 11 to 14 years of age, and we introduce them to law enforcement in terms of showing them what happens at the police department, K-9 unit, the bomb squad, that sort of thing. We do that on one Saturday. Then the following Saturday, we bring them out to Hennepin County Jail, downtown Minneapolis, and they have an opportunity to see the crime lab there, talk to a homicide investigator from the Minneapolis Police Department, and get a tour of the old jail. They can't go to the new jail because of the laws involved in that, but they can tour the old jail, the one that we used to use back in the Stone Age when I was in law enforcement, so they get a chance to see that whole thing, and the kids really like it as well. And December 12th, we're going to be doing our second annual Holiday Helpers in Blue program. This is a phenomenal program that we have. Started, the first one we did last year, 2 years ago actually, we had 10 kids that we selected from Bloomington schools who had experienced some sort of violence in the home, had a financial need, or something like that going on in the home. We took those kids and we paired them up with police officers, brought them out to the Target stores, and at that time we were able to give them, I think it was $140 each to shop for their families for holiday gifts. And I redid that program, got together with some other people. We kind of grew the program for 2014. We were able to take 20 kids this year to do shopping. We were able to get them $200 to spend on shopping for their families. And we took them both to Target and to Walmart. We had an overwhelming response of people that wanted to donate to this program this year. We had people from the Drool and Moose Confection Shop that donated candies and things like that. We had Walmart just really was very generous with what they gave, Target as well. We took the kids over shopping in the big police command vehicle. It's got all kinds of lights and things that beep and honk and that sort of thing. They love that. Took them shopping, and we had them shopping with the kids. And while they were, when they came back to Bloomington Civic Plaza, we had volunteers from the community that wrapped their gifts upstairs, the gifts that they had purchased, and then they sat downstairs and had a very nice meal provided by Outback Steakhouse and Culver's, where they catered this meal completely free of charge. And I didn't have to twist anybody's arm for any of this. They just gave. In fact, the night before the event, I had a surprise donation where somebody donated 2 brand new bicycles to the program just so that we could give those away. So 2 kids, 1 girl and 1 boy, walked out of that event with a brand new bicycle for Christmas. So that was really fantastic. It was a great program, and for this year, we plan to grow it even bigger if we can, because we just had such an overwhelming response. But the letters and the cards and the voicemails and the emails that I got in response to that, absolutely overwhelming. So here's another statistic I want to share for you. This is the Bloomington Police Department. The chief spoke to these numbers a little while ago. As I said, right now, as of the 2010 census, we are about 21% ethnically diverse in the city. I believe it is a bit higher than that now. But our police department is just a little under 10% ethnically diverse. That's an important number. As we look at a police department that reflects the community that it serves, these are numbers that we want to do a little bit more intentional recruiting on. And so one of the things I'm excited about is that I've had an opportunity to get involved in the police recruitment aspect of the department. That's something that I did when I was a Minneapolis police officer. I got involved in recruitment. We were able to recruit the very first Somali police officers for the state, I believe, through some of the programs we initiated there. And now I'm trying to bring some of that same energy and logistics to recruiting here with the Bloomington Police Department so that we can make a positive impact on these numbers right here. One of the programs, and again, this is the brochure that I handed out for you. Again, this is a concept, okay? Just want to get that out there. This is a program I've been working with Richard Scott over at the OEE on. It's called Kids to Cops, K2C. And what we're doing is I'm trying to get kids at a very early age. And the reason why is because I told you I've done some recruiting with police departments prior to being at Bloomington. And what I found is that when we try to recruit kids at the high school age or even the junior high school age, particularly children of color, what we find is that they've already got some deeply entrenched attitudes against law enforcement that it's very difficult to penetrate. And so the idea behind this program is that if we can get them interested in law enforcement at an earlier age, even as early as 3rd grade, then we can begin to build on that and begin to funnel them into law enforcement as a career. And those that don't actually become police officers are definitely going to become much better citizens. My philosophy on it is this: as we look across the country at some of the challenges that law enforcement departments are dealing with every day, they're going into these situations and trying to find allies, trying to find friends, trying to find folks that are going to partner with them. Well, I think that it's a whole lot better to go into these storms locking arms with your partners and your allies in the community than to wait till you're in there and then be reaching out for them. So if we can begin to develop those relationships with the kids as early as 3rd grade, by the time they're teenagers, perhaps instead of throwing rocks at us when the stuff kind of hits the fan, maybe they're the ones that are going to be telling everybody to back off. These are our friends. These are the police officers that we go and do fishing with, that we go and do cycling with and that sort of thing. So the Kids to Cops program takes kids from 3rd grade up, as I said. They have them doing fun activities with cops twice per month, so these events are going to be chaperoned by police officers. We have a fall kickoff event and then a spring carnival to kind of wrap things up. The activities will continue throughout the school year and summertime. Reason for that is because the last thing we want to do is have these kids drop off the program when school comes and then wait until summer to pick it up. We want to keep them interested all year long. Why K2C? It builds relationships between kids and cops, which are very important. Creates positive attitudes towards the police, something to counteract some of the negative attitudes that we see now. Encourages good citizenship amongst the youth. While they're out doing these events, these fun events, they're going to be constantly getting messages from the police officers about the importance of good citizenship. That's just part of the program. Cultivates a more diverse pool of police applicants over time. Right now, when Bloomington Police Department announces a job opening, we typically get about 400 applicants for a handful of jobs. The problem is that we don't have a very diverse pool of applicants. So when we're looking for the best possible candidate for the job, as the pool begins to shrink down to those who we're going to hire, the number of minorities falls off precipitously. So we're trying to increase the number of applicants we have going into the process. And it funnels kids into the police department through existing programs in a 4-stage process. The 4 stages are the Police Explorer program, which they'd be eligible for at age 14. The Career and College Academy, which much has been talked about already. If we can begin to talk to these kids about the career in law enforcement, once they get to high school, we've already got their mind thinking about law enforcement. Community service officer at age 18, they can actually earn a good part-time wage, working 20 hours a week while they're in college. As long as they're in a law enforcement program, they are eligible to be a community service officer. And then becoming a police recruit upon college graduation. So I think that's it. Yeah, that's it.
Don't you have anything for old people?
For old people? They can hang out with me, I guess.
When the city manager and I met to help plan tonight's event, we agreed that it would be strategically advantageous to link back and reference the last joint city council school board meeting topic, and that was about, and we had a demographer appear before these two groups and talk about the changing demographics of Bloomington. And we talked about the changing diversity and increasing poverty in our community. So we thought we would share tonight how we're collaborating in many areas between the school district and the city to address and engage our changing community. Also, the Career Academy work, one of the targets is to help students living in poverty get a livable wage job. We need to prevent the intergenerational poverty from setting in our community. It's critical, important that we address this. So 2 things. Tonight we're sharing how we're following up on the last topic, and we'd like to connect back to that, and also how all this work will help our community be stronger by breaking the cycle of intergenerational poverty. So, thank you.
Are there any other questions?
I have a comment. Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for being here tonight. And thanks for the wonderful presentations. I'm just really excited because we are talking about race at the table, and we're talking about race in a way that brings us all together in order to continue to build that healthy community for the good of everybody in our city and in general in Minnesota, in our country. So I am really thankful for that. I appreciate the information that you brought here today and all the efforts that everybody's putting towards working with all of our students, especially our students of color, our diverse students and students who are living in poverty. Because, as you can see, there is this sort of, and that's one of my concerns, that's what actually doesn't let me sleep at night, it's this sort of disengagement, especially from our students, diverse students, and students who are immigrant, that from our community. And just by doing the kind of things that you're trying to do here, we're bringing our kids together by working with the police department. It's a way of showing to them that the community cares for them, that the community is interested in who they are and in working with them. And that, that will excite them on participating more, just because they will feel that connection with the police department. They will feel the connection with the whole community. So I think this is a great opportunity to bring everybody together. As you were talking to about how we need to create the conditions for our students later in life so that they can find jobs, that they're gonna need jobs, and it is mostly that we are gonna need them too. We have so many kids now that they're gonna be ready to go into the workforce, and we're gonna need them. So I'm just really thankful that we're all working together in this. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
I just wanted to echo Director Corman's thoughts too and say, as I watched the presentation, I think, why doesn't everybody do this? It just makes so much sense what's happening here and your Kids to Cops program. Although it's just a thought right now, it makes so much sense. It's like I've never been to jail or anything, but I know that my first interaction with a police officer was not getting $200 to go grocery shop or to go buy Christmas presents and a new bike, right? It was, I think it was going a ticket for 76 and a 55, but that's neither here nor there. I paid it, whatever. I paid my debt back to society. But this, this just seems so great. And thanks again for everything that you do and for coming and presenting to at our meeting.
Mr. Mayor, do you have any closing thoughts?
Well, just before we close, and I'm going to move us off this subject and topic a little bit, but it's something that between the school board and the city council, I think that we'd like to maybe have a little more deep dive discussion on something that the city has been considering and we've had a study in, and it really boils around a community center. We have kicked the can and started the preliminary look at community center, if we do go forward, what it would be and things like that. And so we had first of all, kind of a needs assessment report done, and they looked at it and took an inventory of what's available for places within our community and things like that. And I think when we received the report, we looked at it with a lot of very valuable information, but it did kind of identify the facts of what's in the city, but it didn't identify necessarily what should be or could be. And it was Councilmember Abrams who really said, should we take just a step back here and talk with representatives of the school board to do it, and to really take a little deeper dive into really the needs of the community and what's there and what's in the in the arsenal of the schools. Community center. You have the activity centers. These are community centers usually consist of recreational activity center kind of things, meeting rooms, classrooms, activity rooms, just different things. And so this inventory came, and so really it's to ask the question, and I would like for Councilmember Abrams too to kind of expand upon her thoughts, because she brought back a name and some things that have been talked about and considered. I'm talking decade gone by, which triggered my mind and said, wow, you're onto something there. But you've got great activity centers in the schools. And are they utilized by the general community? And the answer is yes, a number do. And I don't know if it's an adequate number. I don't know if it's something that why would we as a city want to replicate some of those things that we already have in the arsenal of the schools. And then you start to talk about, well, activity centers that have recreational facilities, walking tracks, gyms, weight rooms that can be used by the community, really work well when there is a child's daycare play area associated with it. You know, so if we've got these assets, that maybe there's a way to enhance yours, to meet the needs of the community, you know, to really make them viable. And so that's just an example. And the same thing, and are there needs that the schools see that maybe a community center in the, you know, in our city could fill the need? And Councilmember Abrams, your thoughts on it?
Sure,
because you
sure.
Really, it struck a nerve with me, and I thought it was some good suggestions.
We could dial this all the way back to the closing of Lincoln High School, but we don't necessarily have to go back to deep ancient history. I guess I look at this from the experience of having been a member of this school board and a part of the board when we went out for the $108 million bond referendum. And the notions that were placed and the expectations that were put with the construction and the build-outs of all of our elementary schools, reformation of our middle schools, and then the activity centers that went in at the high school level. And was it collaborative? Was it highly collaborative? You know, I'm a Bloomington High School graduate, and I will say that we always aspire to be the very best. And was that the very best effort we could have done? I would like to have slowed down the clock and had the real, true community conversation that needed to happen, because it's my belief, going to any door where there's a taxpayer over the age of 70 who remembers the closing the Lincoln High School and the city not buying it, they don't necessarily see a difference of their tax dollar of what is going to the schools and what is going to the city, what's going to the county. Tonight's presentation should be the absolute goal, or a housekeeping seal of approval that our government structures are working in sync. Finally, the conversations are happening in such a way that we're leveraging all of those tax dollars to an efficiency and a result metric that is far greater than if they all worked individually. So there's no greater testament to the powers and the creativity and the understanding of the needs than is sitting around this table in a policy fashion, as well as the staff that's sitting in the audience here tonight. That's exciting. That's exciting because not only have we taken the established government entities, but in your case, with the reputation of the good reputation of the Bloomington schools, you're now leveraging it out into the private sector and the nonprofits, thereby increasing the results, which otherwise you have school districts in St. Paul at the Capitol, continuing to just, you know, whine and complain about the fact that there's no more money coming. And we're saying, you know what, we have more. We have more on our plate with regard to the assets of this community. It just doesn't happen to fall into this line on the budget tally. So it would be my sense that if we have this opportunity as a city to continue to utilize and talk to the taxpayers about where the future of this community is, that conversation be as large and as expansive as possible, and that it be as collaborative as it can be with those government entities that we all share when the property tax bill comes.
Well, thank you. It sounds like we have our agenda for our next meeting. As we close out tonight's joint meeting, it should be noted that as important as it is for all of us elected officials to be engaged with the community on these types of issues, it is equally symbolic and important that we continue to engage with each other to model collaboration and build on the social capital for the good of all our citizens. I'd like to take this opportunity to once again thank all our presenters and participants for joining us tonight. We appreciate your time and the conversation, and we look forward to our joint efforts moving forward. Thank you also to Mayor Winstead, Hennepin County Administrator David Huff, Superintendent Les Fujitaki, all the city council members, and my fellow school board members for their time and commitment to this important work. Good night, and thank you again for coming.